Okay, moving on to the Build Back Better plan. Is the president going to stop saying that the Build Back Better plan does not increase the deficit 1 single cent? We now know that that is not true.
It is true, and I would note the several economists and experts out there. I think you're probably talking about the CBO score,
which Joe Biden himself in 2010 called the gold standard for Democrats and Republicans.
Well, Peter, since we're all here to communicate with the public about accurate information, what I would just note is that one of the components that experts, Democrats and Republicans, including former heads of the CBO, have pointed to is that IRS enforcement is not something that there's a lot of experience in the CBO scoring. They still scored it, but is undervalued by the assessment of many economists and experts, including people who have been critical of us in the past, who estimate, including former Treasury secretaries of both parties, who estimate there will be significant savings, significantly higher than what is estimated currently. So our assessment and the assessment by many economists out there is that there will be savings over 10 years that will actually reduce.
Can you talk a little bit? The polling has shown that the president is in a bit of a slump. The Democratic Party has had some challenges in its own polling. Why do you think that is? And as you look forward to taking this on the road and talking to people about it, how hard is it going to be to get Americans to sort of understand all of what you're trying to lay out here?
Well, I agree with you. There is a great deal in the legislation. We divide it into saving the planet, care can't wait, and our care pieces, and again, the health pieces in there, which is related to the care piece. The members have committed to 1,000 town meeting events, one way or another. When we saved the Affordable Care Act from the tentacles of the Trump administration, we had 10,000 events around the country of people telling their stories. And people telling their story, and that was over a period of time. But people telling their stories, that's the most eloquent message of all. People telling what it means to have home health care so that they can work, to be assured that their children are learning when they are earning, to have some assurance about what it means to have health care so that someone in your family takes ill. All of those things are, again, personal stories. And then from a policy standpoint, again, saving the planet is a responsibility that we have based on science and morality. It isn't a set of values that seems to be shared on the other side of the aisle, get their hand in the pocket of fossil fuel industry. We're looking to the future. So I think that these messages will, again, not just from our members, but from others. I'm an organizer. That's how I came to Congress, an organizer, and chair of the California Democratic Party, which I thought was the pinnacle of all success, the biggest Democratic Party in the country. But so we are big believers in mobilization. The inside, what we do inside can only get us so far, the inside maneuvering. The outside mobilization is really the glory of it all and makes the policy so much better. And again, those are the messengers of eloquence about what all of this means in their lives. What it means for kids if we have green initiatives that stop the spread of asthma and have clean air and end pollution. The president's initiative to reduce pollution by 50% by 2030 and 100% by 2050. What that means in people's children's lives, especially in some underserved communities. What it means to have workplace training so that people can be part of the new green technologies as we go into the future. It's pretty exciting. And again, it is a lot. I'll grant you that. And people say, well, it's too much. But if you're just thinking of the well-being of America's working families, how it will create good paying jobs, cut taxes for them, lower costs for them, and again, not increase the national debt. Yes, ma'am.
I want to bring in Washington Democratic Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal, chair of the Progressive Caucus. It's so good to have you here. Thanks for rushing off the floor. Look, I saw the statement that the caucus just put out. You called this transformational legislation that should deliver immediate, tangible change. Tell us about that change and what you think this vote means.
Well, I am so proud of Democrats today. I'm so proud of President Biden. We are delivering on universal child care, where most families are going to see their child care costs cut in half. We are delivering on universal pre-K. Every 3- and 4-year-old across the country will get pre-K. We are delivering on housing. We are bringing down the cost of housing and making the biggest federal investment in housing since our history. And we are taking on climate change and really cutting carbon emissions with a $500 billion investment in taking on climate change. We're also bringing down the cost of pharmaceutical drugs. But families are going to see that they're going to be able to pay $35 for insulin instead of hundreds and hundreds of dollars for insulin. So we're cutting costs across the board. We're investing in our next generation. We're investing in our planet. We're investing in our immigrants. And it is a big day for the country as we move this bill one step closer. Of course, the Senate needs to do its job now, but I am confident we are going to get that done.
We can, Congresswoman. I know you wanted assurances from Senators Manchin and Sinema before this vote happened. You didn't get them. How concerned are you about potential changes to the bill once it goes to the Senate? How optimistic are you that it gets passed looking very much like it does now?
I feel very good about this. There was a framework that was agreed to. The vast majority of this bill is pre-conferenced with Senators Manchin and Sinema. I have had my own conversations with them, but this is, again, a place where President Biden has shown tremendous leadership. He had those negotiations, and that is why we ended up at the bill we ended up at. Now, there are a few things that aren't pre-conference. We're going to have to work those out, but I believe through my conversations and with those senators, as well as the president's own commitment that he is confident we can get 51 votes, we're going to get this done, and we're going to get it done before Christmas, hopefully in the first weeks of December, and people are going to see once again that government's got your back, that Democrats in the House, the Senate, and the White House delivered for them.
We only have a minute left, but I do want to ask you about something the Republicans keep talking about, that this bill is not paid for. The CBO said even with revenue from the IRS, it could add $160 billion to the deficit. What's your response?
Well, first of all, it's absolutely ludicrous that Republicans would be levying that criticism at us, because don't forget, they passed a $2 trillion tax scam that increased the deficit and by $2 trillion and put all of the benefits of that towards the top 1%. Here, we know that the IRS enforcement is going to make this bill completely paid for. The wealthiest and the biggest corporations are going to start paying their fair share, but the investment side is in working people, in poor people, in all Americans, not the wealthiest, and I think that is a massive difference.
Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal, congratulations, and thank you so much, as I said, for rushing off the floor and coming to talk to us after the Build Back Better bill passes the House today. Thank you. Good to see you.
Thank you.
I just voted no on the Democrats' Build Back Better bill. This is a horrible bill that completely transforms America. It's full passage of the Green New Deal, and what it's going to do to our country is going to be very difficult to recover from. They are saying that it's going to grow jobs and build jobs, but that is not at all what it's going to do. It grows the size of our government. And as Americans, we know that once the government creates a program, it never ever ends. And here's the real problem with the so-called Build Back Better bill. It's communism. America was never meant to be a communist country, and Republicans are going to have to pledge all of our voters and pledge the American people that we will undo what has been done and the damage to this country by the Democrats. Going forward, we have to do everything we can and not just say it in great speeches and interviews on television. Republicans are going to have to promise the American people to save America and stop this communist takeover.